Good afternoon, everybody. My name's John Burrows from the Law Commission. If I'd been asked 5 years ago to predict where we'd be today, I would have been wildly astray. Can anyone in this room say that they could have predicted all the technology we've heard about today and the uses and abuses of it? Now, I'm going to move out 5 years from now and say, what do I predict now? I have got no idea. If I couldn't predict 5 years ago, what chance am I going to have of saying what technology will be like, what the potentialities of it are in 5 years' time? And to be safe, I'm making it 5 years rather than 10. Couple that with the fact that we're in a very competitive age and people want to make money. Couple that with the fact that some people are not careful, some are unscrupulous, and some are just downright wicked. There are severe challenges for our privacy. Now, the law can't do everything. Education will play a part if people want to be educated, if they want to listen. Protective agencies like NetSafe will do a wonderful job, but they can't cover it all themselves. So the law really, at the end of the day, has to do something. We are thinking about surveillance laws, giving the Privacy Commission more powers. That can only be done by legislation. Now, I'm not going to make a prediction, but I'm going to state a real fear. In 5 years' time, technology will have moved, processes will have moved in ways we can't foresee now, and the law will have done absolutely nothing. That's my fear. And privacy has never been at the top of any government agenda that I know of. In 1998, the then Privacy Commissioner produced a report called Necessary and Desirable, in which he recommended quite a number of changes to the Privacy Act. Almost none have been implemented. In July 2008, a nice, simple little bill was introduced to the New Zealand Parliament about cross-border privacy. Obvious stuff, simple. It's now May 2010, it still has to get its second reading. Now, why is this? And I want to state 4 reasons, and they're perceptions, really, misperceptions about privacy. I'm talking to the converted here. Many people outside this building are not converted about privacy, and here are some of the misconceptions about it. First of all, some people say the damage arising from breach of privacy is speculative and intangible. The law will move if it can see real financial advantage, like excise tax on cigarettes. Now, that's something you can do pretty quickly. It'll move if it sees violent crimes on the increase, because you can see bloodied heads and bloodied noses. But they will say, if your privacy is damaged, what do you actually suffer? Humiliation, lack of dignity, loss of control of your information, loss of freedom, loss of trust, fear of the unknown. That's all fairly wussy stuff, and it's very hard to measure and very hard to persuade people about. Now, like I tell you, some of those things I've just talked about are extraordinarily important to any civilized society. Trust in government, trust in business, enormously important to us. But we've just heard today, too, that sometimes breaches of privacy do cause real financial and even physical loss. Stalking, and we heard these terrible stories about people hacking computers and losing money. Damage to privacy is very real, and that's got to be acknowledged, and people have to be persuaded of it. It's not all just about lack of dignity. Secondly, there's a second perception, and I can only put it in a way that an American judge called Richard Posner recently put it. He said this: privacy is not deeply ingrained in human nature. It's not a deep value that we feel. My initial response is rubbish. And a blogger on the same side as Posner said, with judges like this, who needs Hitler and Stalin? That's been perhaps a little bit unfair. But the points he makes are these: we talk about privacy, yet we sit on a crowded train or in a crowded cafe talking loudly on our cell phones about what we're going to have for dinner tonight. And I heard a chap recently on a train who said, well, why don't you take it out occasionally? I'm not sure what that meant, but I was interested. We put all sorts of stuff on Facebook not realizing, I think, what might happen to it. Some of us worry about direct marketing, others couldn't care less about direct marketing. And Posner also makes the point, we are prepared sometimes to trade our privacy if the advantage coming to it is that great. If we can see a lovely purchase on the internet, we'll risk giving a credit card number. So his conclusion about all of that is that privacy is something of a lesser value, and we don't value it quite as much as we do things like physical security. I just don't think that's correct for most people. There are fringes of privacy, things that don't matter so much. But most of us would say there's certain things about ourselves that we just don't want anybody else to know, and we don't want misused. And I think most of us would say that's pretty important to us. So that's the second misconception. Here's a third one. Some people think privacy is just a downright obstacle to progress, that it gets in the way of desirable developments. And you hear things like this. Newspaper headline, "A person has died because health information was not passed on to carers. This is because of the Privacy Act." Or this, "Government departments would like to share information themselves about people but feel inhibited from doing so because of the Privacy Act." We have an abbreviation called BOTPA, B-O-T-P-A, because of the Privacy Act. Now, in both the examples I've just given you, that's a total misconception. The Privacy Act would allow those things. So it's being misused, misunderstood. Thank you. But as I say, there is that perception out there, privacy can be a darned nuisance. Wrong. And finally, some people throw their hands up and just say, look, reform of the law of privacy is just too hard. There's information all over the world, 25 billion new entries on Facebook every month. It's international. Google and Facebook live in America. What can we, in this little island paradise in the South Pacific, what can our legal system do about it? Our jurisdiction stops at the border. It's all just too hard. We can't do anything. It's got away on us. Wrong again. Of course there's things you can do. There's international cooperation. There's laws about accountability for moving information overseas and so on. So I've now shared with you my private nightmare. Privacy is at risk and will become more increasingly so. Yet in 5 years' time, the law may not have moved one iota. And I can tell you what, we're going to try and ensure that something does happen. Thank you.